compelling as these capabilities are, including IoT and industrial IoT, you saw a really good example of that. The great thing about Rackspace is we've seen all this innovation happening at these platform layers, and we're able to provide expertise while companies like Microsoft, companies like AWS continuously innovate. Even today, our team is at the AWS Summit in New York, and just today, they've actually launched 10 new features, just on one day, right? And these are, product updates, et cetera. So to keep up with this rate of innovation is it's kind of a task on its own. So that's why we exist again as a company. So thank you again, James, for that. So moving straight on to the next presentation, we're going to go to OpenStack, and you heard Scott Crenshaw talk about this slightly earlier, but one of the key choices that you have at Rackspace. So OSG, which has been a longtime partner on the OpenStack private cloud side for us at Rackspace, I think about 7 years or so, they are solving some really great high-capacity, high-performance cloud system problems for big Fortune 500 financial services companies. So, and they're doing that in combination with us, with our OpenStack private cloud team. So to talk about that, here's a very quick video on OSG.
OSG is an international company helping our clients work out and solve some of their most difficult problems. We've worked with at least half of the world's largest financial institutions. We do everything from entertainment to hospitality, manufacturing. OpenStack has been the absolute solution. It's one thing to be able to turn around and have a cloud. We can tell our clients to go out and get their own cloud, but everybody is looking for something that is robust and reliable, and OpenStack is it. The great thing about it being open source is that I now have millions and millions of people working on it for me. And then, of course, being open source, we can contribute right back saying, hey, look what we did with this awesome software. When Rackspace spins it up with the correct compute nodes, the infrastructure nodes, and having the right type of sender storage for us, it's easy. It is so easy to separate a cloud out. You can multi-use your actual systems on a capacity level that you've never dreamt possible before. Anything that are high IOP transactions that most people would think never can go into the cloud because of Rackspace and OpenStack, we're able to put them in there. With the partnership between OSG and Rackspace, we go in there hand in hand, and we know that we can provide what they need.
All right, please welcome Richard Thayer, Director of IT at OSG.
Thank you.
All right, take it.
Oh, appreciate it. Well, that was a pretty fancy video. So anyway, exactly what does OSG do? OSG is an integration consulting company. We also do a lot of hand-holding. So what does that mean? That means that we might not actually make the decision or help you actually get something implemented, but we will definitely help you make the right decisions. So the question is, who am I? So I'm Richard Thayer. I am the witch doctor and chief bottle washer for OSG. Been doing that for a little while now. Actually, that's not true. That's my role. My title is Director of IT and Cloud Ownership, or cloud stuff. So anyway, one of the things that we wanted to convey today is, what does OSG do? What are we known for? And basically, one of the main things that we're known for throughout the industry is that most of the people that we have in our employee have a minimum of 22 years in tenure in regards to IT. So what does that mean? That means that these people have been in all different kinds of data centers. They've been in all different kinds of work scenarios, all different kinds of fires, having to put things out. So they're very valuable, and we just keep them on with us because, hey, let's face it, they make the customer happy. But the main thing is why do customers love us? Well, one was what I just said, okay, our tenure for our guys. But another thing is that they love us because we can do some things that other people can't. And the great thing about that is that if I turn around and I bid a job, we don't go over. In fact, when we're done, like true consultants, we leave. Ever thought of that? You have guys that have been on site for years and years. So unfortunately, that's not our mantra. Our mantra is to do what we're supposed to do and then get out. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get into some of what the problem is that we see, not just for Fortune 500 companies, but for financial companies, transportation companies, and so forth. So basically, looking at the slide, if you look at the bottom right, it says automation. And you notice that it says barely used. So a lot of people are like, well, what are you talking about that is barely used? Well, if you look right up above it, you see chef. That could be very easily be salt, could be Ansible, could be lots of things. But how can that be? So somebody can just run a chef script and look, it did this, it did this, it did this. That must be automation. No, it's not. So what happens is automation is when you take a whole bunch of those scripts and you tie them together, and then you make them work. That is automation. But there's a problem. See that big problem right there in the middle? See down the bottom where it says people? Large DevOps staff. How about just development staff? You have a big group of people, and they're there to do a specific job, which is code, create an application, fix an application, make something work that needs to be done. But there's so many of them trying to work on the same process, they don't get anything done. It's not that they don't get anything done. Look at where it says dev. They now have lack of speed. So when you think about that, if everybody's working, you figure that you'd be rolling, you'd be getting something done. That's not how it works. Unfortunately, people step on each other's toes. I know many times I was working on something and I found out somebody else already did it. So, feeling silly, what can you do? You have to shift gears. But looking there in the middle of the problem again, right there to the left of us, is progress. So what is progress? Okay? Well, I'm going to give you an example of what progress or lack of movement assigned to progress. I'm going to give you an example. All right? So picture this. 1953, Japan. All right? You guys all seen the movies. Everybody's running around screaming, oh, Godzilla, 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 right? So if you're there, what would it be like? People are running, afraid. What are they going to do? They don't know what's going on. And you see this big, huge, giant monster coming up out of the water. I'd leave. But there's people still there. Why is that? Well, let's change the scenario a little bit. How about we put DevOps and Agile across the back of Godzilla's back? Okay? So zoom down into the city. You have a reporter who's interviewing everybody because everybody's losing their mind, and he finds some people standing there in the street, and they're not doing nothing. And he's like, what are you doing? Do you not see this giant thing coming down the street? And they say, well, we've always done it this way. We're comfortable with it. So we'll stand here because, this is what we do. So obviously the reporter immediately says something about them not being raised correctly, runs off, and then Godzilla comes into town and stomps them right on that group of people. Who was that group of people? Well, Godzilla was getting developers and system admins off his feet. Because DevOps is coming. And when I say that, it's coming, everybody's like, well, DevOps is already here. It absolutely is. Unfortunately, not everybody uses it correctly. The other side of that is when DevOps is actually integrated, they don't know how to use it. But they have the tools. One of the other problems that we found with some of our clients is they didn't know where to start. Where is step one at, please? Where do I go from here? So that's how we, as OSG, take a step in and help them, but we do it strategically. We do it with our partner. So who's our partner? Obviously, it's Rackspace. Okay, there's a million reasons why we chose Rackspace, but some of the most needed ones is that sometimes people need more than just DevOps. They need methodologies behind it. People think of waterfall, and then they think of agile, and then they can't quite get to agile, so they call it wagile, kind of a bastardized version there. So working with Rackspace allowed us to get past some of those things. So what they did with us is they helped us create several different environments for our clients that allowed us to give them what they needed in regards to DevOps and even security. So with that, everybody's heard of the term on-prem, having a cloud on-premise. Well, Fortune 500 companies, well, that's financial companies, let me change that. Financial companies don't necessarily like their data because of all the compliance issues that they have out on the internet. They love on-prem clouds. They can control it, they can secure it, they can wrap it up, put a nice little bow on it, it's theirs. That happens a lot. So Rackspace helped us create those, using their hardware or using the customer's hardware. We were able to create a solution that would fit their needs. The other thing is that there's certain security things that people say, oh man, OpenStack, well, that's a security nightmare. No, it's not a security nightmare if you know how to use it. So somebody said, well, all I see is member and admin when I do an install. I need more flexibility with users and roles and creation and accounts. And guess what? It's customizable. You can do it using editing a single file. And that's exactly what Rackspace did for us. These guys are some that contribute to the OpenStack program itself, and yet they're working on our projects with us. So that's a good partnership. And then the last part of that is something that a lot of people find hard to believe, but it's true, that the clouds, some of them can be used for any workload. So a lot of times you hear about a cloud being for a web application, or you're going to turn it into a SaaS application. What if I told you some people use cloud for their email in-house? What if they use it for their SQL, for their Mongo? What if they turn around and use Hadoop? They had a great big giant stack with about 100 servers, and they found that it actually ran faster on the cloud than it did their hardware directly. That's amazing. That's the clouds that we're offering customers with Rackspace. So one of the main things that we had a problem with is we needed to create a security model for all of our customers. And the reason why I say that is it's not that everybody says, create one for us. It's just sometimes they turn around and they say, you have to work this way and this way only because of security that they have set up, because of their own policies or procedures or whatever. So what we started doing is we started realizing, well, a lot of this is redundant. So Rackspace engineers started developing these policies ahead of time. So when somebody says, well, I want this, 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 and nobody touches this, okay, fine, we're almost already there. We just need to tweak a couple of things. That's big. Not to mention, inside of OpenStack, using a couple of tenants and a couple of AZs, simple manipulation, okay? We were able to turn around and create environments right on their production cloud, and it never touched it. The data didn't go across. The networking didn't talk to each other. It's there. The ability is there. So we use it. The other side of that is, remember how I mentioned that we had to modify a single file? That policy.json file. Well, that's the keys of the kingdom right there. You can create all kinds of roles that you ever wanted out of that thing. So it's great. The tools are there. Rackspace knows how to use them, and so we take advantage of our partnership. And again, one of the other things that we always get asked is what about auditing? How am I going to get logs? I need to know what's going on. What is my partner doing, but also, what are my people doing? I need a filter. I want some people to get in and some people not. Integrated access management. All these different things have already been addressed and presented from Rackspace for not only just for us to use, but a lot of their other customers already. The tools are there. So that's the neat thing about that. So when you turn around and you think, okay, well, partnerships have to help each other. You got to rely on each other. You got to use each other. And I'll tell you exactly how Rackspace has helped us. One of the first things that they did is they allowed us to start setting a firm fixed rate for our customers. So a lot of times in development-wise, you don't know how long development's going to take. So you'd probably do a T&M rate, time and materials. But we were able to turn around and set a specific rate and not go over it. In fact, most of the time we went under it because we knew what our partner was going to be presenting to us. We knew how we were going to implement it. So the only thing that affect that is the customer themselves in case their policies, procedures, or fear of the cloud. Sometimes that happens. The other side of that is to use DevOps. And again, it's not a new buzzword. A lot of people have already started the process. They just got to get their arms around it a little bit better. But CI/CD, okay, continuous integration, continuous delivery, that's a nightmare to larger organizations because they're so used to backing everything up. They're so used to making sure that they have redundant systems across the board that when we try that, it scares them to death. But when they see the value, when they see that we can regenerate our own environments without having to have somebody else there all the time, we get buy-in. And that's important. That's, you know, and again, the main thing that we're trying to do, make the customer happy, right? And so Rackspace and I say I, but OSG, we kind of made a mantra to come in under budget. Why? Well, A, that's a solution to our customers. Come in under budget. Let them save some money. But the second side is give them a solution that when it comes time for them to be able to use it and really put some fire against it and really put it underneath load, it's going to work good. And them knowing that they didn't have to pay what they thought they were going to have to pay, well, that speaks volumes there also. So what I have here is I had one of my developers, because I am not technically able to do this kind of stuff, okay? So, but what happened is I needed to show how our automatic systems work. So you've heard of autonomous. You heard about making something that would automatically run. Somebody could say, well, yeah, you can do that with the batch script, right? And assign it a time and let it run, and that's good enough. That's automation. Well, that is automation. But it's not necessarily automatic. Yeah, see, that's what we want. We want automatic. The reason being is because nobody can afford large teams anymore. Everybody is trimmed down on it. It's smaller groups doing the majority of the load. So what we try to do is try to put this in picture format about what if an OS upgrade is presented. Okay, so very simple, okay? And what that video did right there is it shows you what automatic is. What about having something, an application or a program, constantly listening, constantly keeping an eye on your environment. And yet it also knows all of the Chef, Ansible, Salt, what other kind of scripts needs to call Jenkins for something, it can do that. What about having that all ready to go and ready? It happens, guys. This is real life. Real life is that was a Red Hat OS patch. Okay? It works. So that's why when you're working with your customers, think about OSG, by all means, that's me. But also, think about Rackspace, what Rackspace can do. Their engineers are amazing. Their support is just absolutely on top. But at the same time, they have fanatical support, and that's 24 hours. So when you start partnering with them, then you start realizing, hey, okay, I've got them completely surrounded. My customer is going to be protected. Okay? Thanks a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
All right. Thank you, Richard. All right, especially for continuing with most significant themes, especially DevOps, et cetera, which is obviously a very key theme for us in this part of the